Welcome to today's episode of Expansion of Consciousness. I'm your host, Jason Medlock, and this is where we delve into the transformative power of emotional healing and strategic empowerment with JJ Flizanes. Um, JJ is an empowerment specialist and a pioneer in integrating emotional intelligence with practical life strategies. From her beginning as a personal trainer to becoming a renowned teacher of the law of attraction, and we love the law of attraction on this show, and core wound mapping, JJ has dedicated her career to helping individuals break free from sabotaging patterns and achieve their fullest potential. Today, JJ will share insights on how understanding and healing our core wounds can lead to profound life changes, not just in our personal lives, but also in our careers and businesses. Join us as we explore the pathway to unlocking our emotional blocks and manifesting the life we deserve with JJ. I'm going to go ahead and bring JJ on right now, and this will be an exciting episode, and I cannot wait to get her on. Hi there, JJ. How you doing?
Hi, Jason. I'm good, thank you.
I want to make sure, is it to pronouncing of your name Flizanes?
Flizanes.
Flizanes. I got it.
Flizanes.
Flizanes. And we spent time talking, and I should have gotten that correct, but I won't mess it up again. But how are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. I'm glad that you're all fans of law of attraction. It's definitely one of the cornerstones of what I do, but it isn't the whole story. It's definitely part of the story. It's an important part of the story, but it isn't even where I would start actually. But I'm excited to talk with you.
Yeah, and law of attraction was I discovered the law of attraction through The Secret, the documentary The Secret, and my sister had me watching that, and that's when I said, "Oh, the law of attraction. Oh, vision boards. Oh, metaphysics." So I know that you've had a different path, and you've integrated the law of attraction into your work. But once you get started, and what led you to the point you are right now?
How long is the show?
Oh, we have enough time. You don't have to go. You don't have to say it all, but give us
I
give us the
I
meat
know.
and
Oh,
potatoes.
I'm really good at sound bites. I just want to know how much I can use. So, what led me to the path? I mean, I'm just a seeker. I was born as a old soul, asking questions when I was young. Like, why do we in church? Why do we do this and they do that? Why do they do this? I was just always curious. That led me to in school being very sort of right brain dominant. I really understood the sciences and language, not sciences, the languages and the Englishes and things like that. And so science, while I was good at it, I got good grades. I wasn't terribly connected to it. I didn't really it wasn't tangible. And for me, it needs to be physical and mechanical and tangible, and I need to care. And of course, when you're in junior high and high school, nobody really teaches science and math in a way that you actually will care about, in my opinion. It's all just numbers and sort of what it is. And so fast forward, I went into a very right-brained profession of acting, singing, and dancing because I was always inspired by that. It felt good. It felt right. I saw, actors on the television and thought, well, if they get to do that, I want to do that. So I explored that path, but there was always this belief in the back of my brain that that's because I was talented, but I wasn't smart. Like wasn't really smart until I started learning personal training. When I became a personal trainer and the first certification that I really got into, when I was taught biomechanics, I kind of got my brain blown open. I was like, oh my God, I understand this. This makes sense. And so I was really excited. It gave me a new sense of self confidence to understand that I actually am smart and my brain does understand science. It just has to be done in a certain way. I need to be taught in a mechanical way where I visually see things. I'm a visual learner. I'm also an auditory learner, but it had to be more in depth. And so I did the personal training thing for a long time. I was really, really good at it. I'm still very good at it, which is why I stayed for as long as I stayed, because as I continued to grow with the clients that I'd get, because, at the end of the day, it's problem solving. Your client comes and they say this, they want this thing. They want to lose weight. They want to look better. They want to rehab a joint. They want to do whatever they want to do. And you use the skill sets and the information that you've studied up until that point. But then if you don't have any, or you have something you can't solve, you go learn. At least I do. I go, okay, well, I'm going to go learn what I can do to help you in this area that's new to me. And that just led to a deeper dive all the time of asking questions about gut, about endocrine system, about energy, and about back pain. I mean, back pain became kind of the pivotal thing that took me, not my back pain, but took me from, we'll say, just physical into the mind-body connection and then into quantum physics. Because if, as Dr. John Sarno used to say in his book, and he is now passed, he wrote Healing Back Pain, and he also wrote The Mind-Body Prescription. And he was a back surgeon, and for many years did back surgeries on people who would come in with perfectly aligned spines, but in immense pain. And then he would see people who were totally crooked and in no pain. So it wasn't that the anatomy indicated that you have a pain that's justifiable, because he saw so many different things. People would get surgery, then come back and still have pain. So needless to say, this sort of blew open the doors of, I'm going to talk to my clients about the emotional piece, because you don't have to convince me. I know, as a Pisces, as a woman, as an intuitive, I get that the emotions are everything, but I couldn't make sense of it. I couldn't use science around that quite yet until I found Abraham and quantum physics and law of attraction. Then I could actually put science to it, which is kind of what made me successful in this space, because too many people, I think, are doing just the right brain woo-woo, law of attraction, or let's say woo-woo speak. And I would attract all the people who were, more left-brained and wanted an explanation. They wanted the science. They wanted to understand, so they trusted me in the science, and then I could move people from skeptics to believers when I could explain quantum physics and I could explain epigenetics. And we looked at energy and how energy moves. And I also saw The Secret, but I was on to Abraham before The Secret came out. So I would been studying with Abraham Hicks from 2001, maybe 2002. And not that Esther and I are the same age, but we share the same birthday. So I have always felt this deep resonance with the truth. To me, it just, yes, Bruce Lipton, biology belief. Yes. I joke with him every time I talk with him. I say it to my audience. I didn't need to be convinced. It says it in the title. Your beliefs affect your biology. End of story. I don't need more, but other people do. So, so then that just sort of coupled into, I kind of let go of the personal training thing and stepped into the empowerment strategist piece and the emotional healing and everything that incorporates. And so I haven't looked back. I've been 100% on the emotional side, the law of attraction emotional side, for about, I'm going to say 6 or 7 years completely. So, and I'm creating things, I'm discovering things, I'm uncovering things. It's very exciting.
And you're on the empowerment strategy side as well. Can you tell us what that means to be an empowerment strategist and how it differs from the traditional life coaching role?
Sure. Well, first, I created it. So there's that, because life coach is very general, and life coach doesn't really tell me about what you specialize in or anything about how you're going to life coach me. I mean, not you, but I mean, just in general, anyone with a life coaching. Empowerment strategist came out of the looking at how people need help, what they want help in. And regardless if it's money, relationships, or health, and going based on a whole brain approach. Again, as I talked about in my story, I kind of was that right brain performer. I knew I was talented. I didn't have any problem getting up in front of people and acting, singing, dancing, whatever. But then my left brain I didn't think it was as smart or as equal. And then once I learned science, I thought, oh my gosh, okay, this is a whole brain approach. And we all have a left and right brain. In fact, we have, based on Jill Bolte Taylor's work in whole brain living, we have 4 parts of our brain. But just for simplicity's sake, let's use the left and right brain. Every one of my clients as a personal trainer wanted to feel better, look better, be better in all ways. But that is and I'm sure your audience knows this from what you teach too. The bottom line is always, how about how I want to feel. The feelings and the emotions are the root of every choice we make. And so regardless of what you're doing on the outside, it's always because you want to feel better or feel differently or feel relief. It drives every choice that we make, how we want to feel and our emotions. So the stories that people tell themselves when it comes to money, relationships, health, whatever, is normally some version of why they can't do something. It's a little bit of a victim mentality of, oh, I can't do that because of this. Oh, I can't do that because of this. And that's what people lead with. And even if they aren't realizing the pattern that they're in, they don't realize they're in victim mentality, no one likes that feeling. Nobody wants to feel powerless. So what is the goal? The goal is to empower somebody no matter what the situation is. So that's the right brain. That's the feeling side. But then, of course, we are living in these human bodies on this earth, on this planet right now, and we do need to be able to do things. We have to be doing something, inspired action, aligned action only, not random doing things, but we have to be doing things in order for us to get to the next level, to get to that goal, to unblock our emotions, whatever that is for you. If you continue doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. So in order to change, we have to do and be and understand something different. So that was the left and right brain piece of everyone wanting to feel empowered. I can find freedom for you in any conversation or any situation. And there's going to be a strategy on how you get there and a strategy of how you flourish and get to the next level of whatever that means for you.
Well, I can tell you now, it's very enlightening to hear how your approach goes beyond conventional coaching by integrating this emotional healing intertwined into your empowerment strategies. I think that's awesome. And I'm a believer, and I wouldn't be doing this type of work, that holistic method seems very crucial for any type of sustainable change. And that is absolutely amazing. But what are the core wounds that someone must be aware of, in their personal and professional development?
So I discovered the core wound work when I was in therapy myself to try to save my marriage. And I actually started my first podcast with the hopes of that if I wasn't the one someone would listen to, that maybe you listen to somebody else. So let me bring someone else on to explain this so you could hear it differently, as well as to educate myself and to expand myself and to check myself and to see what I needed to work on, of course. But when I first started, the core wound work was within imago therapy. And when I did the exercise the very first time, I remember very distinctly, my ex-husband would say, this behavior that I have, he'd say, that doesn't work. You know, that doesn't work. And I would literally 100% say, oh, I know. I know that this doesn't work, but I was doing it anyway. So I didn't know how to stop it. I kept doing it, even though I knew it didn't work. So I did this core wound exercise, and I remember seeing the pattern. The page was like, how do you deal with this? And how do you feel? And what's your response? And I saw the pattern. And the minute I saw it on the piece of paper, all the way down from when I was young, I was like, oh my God, it clicked. Now, I use a lot of astrology in my work too. And I'm a Sag moon. Your moon sign is how you deal with emotion. And for me, Sages are truth seekers. And so when I saw the truth, when I saw the pattern, I couldn't unsee it. And I immediately stopped doing that behavior. I pivoted and I never looked back, because I now understood on a deeper level how it was a pattern. It was a pattern my entire life, and how it wasn't going to work. And I remember saying to the person we were working with, I said, why isn't every single person in therapy doing this exercise before they even get here? Because people could save a lot of time just to get to, because you don't even know what you're healing. And I've been in a lot of traditional talk therapy too, and most of it's been extremely ineffective, but which is why I created what I've created, because while I can figure out a lot of my stuff, I usually come to the therapist already with, here's what I can't do. I can do all of this. I'd go for EMDR. I'm like, well, until I learned that I could tap and do tapping. I know you interviewed Dawson Church. So have I, using tapping on myself and with my clients instead of EFT or EMDR. And so, but with the therapy, I just thought, so these core wounds, so let me give you the breakdown. Everybody has them. And from the time you're born until about 7, your brain is only recording. It's not able to observe and decide. It's just recording things as fact. So if you're crying in another room and you're 4 years old and it's been 5 minutes, your brain might be recording that you've been abandoned, you're unimportant, you're invisible, you're devalued, and you don't have a say in that because the brain's just recording. Consciousness doesn't come in until after we're 7. So these patterns that then get recorded, or these situations, these interpretations, become our beliefs. And they're beliefs that are in our subconscious. And they're the beliefs that are literally the foundation of how you show up in the world, from the person you choose as partners, for the work that you do in the world. Everything from that point on is about trying to get the needs met that weren't met by your caregivers. And again, this is all kind of subconscious. When we meet our partner, and I knew that going in, I'm like, okay, there's something in you that I didn't get from them. And so I wanted it from you, and vice versa. So this is equal. It's not a mistake. This is extremely, my subconscious knew what it was doing. And so did yours. And so that's where I kind of tried to play from. So when I did the core wound work there, that was life-changing. And I've been using it in my work ever since. And I've used it so much in my work that I've now created what I call the core wound map. Because just like if you were going to build a house, or bake a cake or do a recipe you've never done before. You would follow the directions. You would look, I mean, again, I'm a cook, so yes, there's creativity and I don't measure, but if you're doing something specific, like you want it to turn out a specific way, you're going to follow directions. Same thing with a house. You're not going to be, you're going to be following the directions that the architect put in the plans to build your house for the safety of that.
Right.
Well, when you're doing the healing, to me, what are you healing? If we're only talking about what happened yesterday or what happened 2 years ago or what the patterns with my parents or what the patterns with my spouse or my children, are we actually understanding the wounds underneath that? If we can get, it's like the root. If we can get to the root and we can work on that, then at least we know we're choosing modalities specifically with an understanding of what it's going to do for me, how I'm going to be when it works, and what wound am I working on, and how will I know when it's shifted. So to me, the map just became this, well, of course, because people are doing this over here and this over here and this over here. I don't care. They all have a place. Reiki, tapping, EFT, meditation, everything has a place, but everyone's not going to respond to it the same way. And when you're doing it, I like to be intentional that I'm choosing the right thing for the right reason and understand, like an exercise. People would come into the gym and do random things. And I'd say, well, what do you expect out of this? And they literally wouldn't know. I'm just pushing and pulling the machine. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be getting out of this. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe if you choose a muscle and we choose an exercise to target that muscle, then you'll know if it's working when you see that muscle build. It's the same principle, but I'm doing it with emotion. So I'm making emotions like a prescription. We're getting to the root, we're figuring out the diagnosis, and then we're going to prescribe based on your personal core wound map. And everything that we choose from there is going to create your roadmap to emotional healing.
I like that. And I want to piggyback on what you're saying. Absolutely correct. The same sort of thing I use in my mindset coaching program, and or if I'm doing a quantum healing hypnosis session, identifying and understanding what the core root issue is, and a sports hypnosis session, understanding, sitting the client down. Okay, let's understand where the core issue is. Now let's isolate this blockage and then begin to work on it. And I don't do talk therapy, but I have respect for psychologists, sports psychologists, all those people, because mental illness professionals, because I think sports. I'm sorry. I think that talk therapy has a place, but I work at the subconscious mind level, and I know you do as well. And then you can affect the subconscious mind by reprogramming. So sports, so talk therapy can only go so far. And I think a person probably want to integrate modalities to really, really get a rounded effect to change their life. So identifying these core wounds is very critical to personal growth and to your healing. So just fascinating, JJ, how the wounds of a person can affect all areas of their life, all areas. But I want to move on, and I want to talk to you about describing the differences between your coaching methods and traditional talk therapy. And I know that we spoke on that a little bit, but when it's regarding the emotional healing, how do you just really draw that line?
So when I started my show, the first couple of years, I really did it as a experiment, as a test of how to, I guess I use it as a law of attraction experiment of like, okay, how do you want me to show up? I have all this content. I've got exercise, I've got cooking, I've got relationships, I've got psychology, I've got, whatever, diet, wellness, hormone, whatever, all the things. And so I did a 6-day-a-week show, and I did 350 episodes in 18 months. And some of it was video, and some of it was audio, some of it was interviews, some of it was solo. All the videos were, not all the videos, all the extras videos were solo. Some of the cooking videos had guests, but I was like, how do people want me to show up? I have all this information. What do you want from me? And when I finally decided that this one brand was not going to really satisfy all the different things I talked about, I decided to put out 6 different shows. And then I launched Spirit, Purpose, Energy first, because I had no lead magnets. I had nothing to sell anybody. I had no products. I had nothing, because when I first did the show, it was my permission to speak about law of attraction, because my clients didn't care. They thought I was entertaining, but they didn't care. They weren't asking me to coach them that way, but I couldn't help but share with them what was working for me and what I thought might work for them. So I put it out into the world. I move on. 2 months later, boom, I get all these emails. Oh my God, your show is changing my life. Okay. So now I'm like, oh my God, this is a thing. I should have been surprised. Hello, it's the thing I cared about the most. I was lit up about talking about law of attraction. So law of attraction meant that the law of attraction show was the most successful show. And so, move through however many years or a year or however long it took. And I start getting people doing some sessions. I used to have a starter 2-pack of sessions, and they'd sign up for the session. I'd go through whatever I went through with them. And this was consistent. I'd get 9 out of 10 times, oh my God, my whole life has changed after 2 sessions with you. I've been in therapy for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 7 years. And it happened so much and I didn't love traditional talk therapy anyway. I'd had a really good, like my last therapist was really good, but she wasn't just traditional. She did all kinds of different things. And I went to her very specifically, like I said, for EMDR. She also did hypnosis. So, and I kind of,
when they mix it in together,
right.
That's what makes it very good. Yes.
Right. But traditional talk therapy, when I say that, it's the one that where you go in and you don't know them. They don't know you. The first couple of sessions is getting to know you. They ask you questions and basically they validate you. Oh, that's terrible. That you went through that. I'm so sorry that you went through that. And it sounds like you. Okay. And that's great. But basically you don't do anything. And I'm not, again, I please, if you have a therapist you love and you are different in the same situation, you are changed. This is not for you. I am not talking to you. I am talking to those of you that have been in therapy for 5 years. You get triggered by the same stuff. You have the same feelings. You're telling the same story and you've done nothing else except tell the story for 5 years. So that is how I don't do that. So and I'm going to go back to law of attraction. You are the creator of your own reality. You are the creator of your own reality. How can you go into therapy and talk about and blame everybody else for your stuff if you're the creator of your own reality? How about let's take responsibility, not because there's something wrong with you. This is no shame. This is no blame. This is not a judgment. But what if you just decided to take responsibility for everything, even things you think you have nothing to do with, just for a second? What does that do? It empowers you. That's why I'm an empowerment strategist, because in the case where you're in blame, you have nothing to do about it. You have no control. There is nothing you can do if you are blaming someone else. You are literally giving the power away. I am about having people take their power back and understand what choices they have, why they created the reality they created, and how am I going to get out of it? And again, part of it is the core wounds for sure. But it's also it's education. And what I've realized over the years, Jason, especially with me working with different people and different things, is in the traditional talk therapy model, you go in and you find a therapist who's on your insurance. Maybe you like them. It takes them a couple sessions to figure if you like them or not, but you know nothing about them. And it's actually it's not even a good thing. Or it is a good thing that you know nothing about them. Like they're not required to show you that they have skills, that they've done this in their own lives. But for me, I earn, right? For us, we earn the right. We earn the right. We earn the trust. People call me, when they're ready, they know where to find me. They're like, okay, I trust you. And then we're off to the races. There is no,
and we're not on the insurance list.
Right. We're not on the insurance list, although we are on the HSA list. So in case you want to use your HSAs, I'm sure you could get your companies to help, make a bill that says this is for mental, emotional health and wellness. But yeah, so that's how when I'm the whole therapy thing, I've sat in couples therapies where I just see, in order to gain a client's trust, again, you just get validated. The therapist just tells you I went to a therapist who literally continued to not do what I asked her to do. And I thought, why am I here? I'm here to do EMDR, but you keep asking me about what happened yesterday. And then she's like, well, but then you tell me. I'm like, because it's your room. I'm not supposed to come in and take over your room. I'm telling you what I want. You're not giving it to me. So after 6 sessions, I realized that my point of being there was to actually introduce her to Abraham. She was like, this stuff really works. I'm like, oh my God, I'm out of here. Yeah. So I'm more direct. I want people to take responsibility, take their power back. It's not a blame. It's not a shame. I'm not saying anything is wrong with you. But literally you have nothing to do if you're just going to blame your spouse, your children, your job, your parents, the government, the world, the medical system, whatever. If you're just going to blame everybody for the way your life is, you're going to stay there. You're not going to get out of it and you're never going to feel good. You will feel better by deciding that, how did I attract this? Why am I in this? Why have I created this? Why am I still here? What have I learned? What do I need to learn? And what can I do differently now?
So JJ, answer me this. How do you teach the law of attraction differently from others? Like what makes your approach so unique?
I don't know. I mean, I couldn't even really tell you to I just know from my clients, like
Mhm.
a lot of people, because I asked them, I would ask, so, tell me when you found my show, what were you looking for? Well, I was looking for law of attraction. Okay. And how many shows did you listen to? Well, I started listening to 5 and you're the only one I stuck with. Or I listened to 3 and you're the only one that I stuck with, because there's again, the science aspect. So I guess let me just teach it like this. The basics of law of attraction. We all understand it and would not argue that on an old school radio or old school television, that there is a frequency of that radio station. And even if you turn the dial 1 point from 104.5 to 104.6, you're going to get a different frequency. You're going to hear different things. It might be fuzzy, but normally I think every station is normally like 2 clicks. So maybe 104.5, 104.7. But you understand that, and you don't argue with the radio of why can't I hear the music I want on a different station, because you understand the frequency is a like frequency. Same thing with the television. So law of attraction is energy, it's frequency. We all emit a frequency, and that frequency actually is measurable. Now, you're not going to necessarily go measure it on a regular basis, but it's measurable. It has a degree, and it's based on how you feel. Obviously, good emotions, positive emotions have a higher frequency, lower emotions have a lower frequency. So imagine that you're looking at a building and the building is 20 stories high. And so it's all in the same building, but each floor has its own, ceiling, walls, doors, windows. And you're on the first floor, but something really tragic happens on the fifth floor. Are you involved in that? No, because it's on a different floor. So think of frequency like that. Like whatever frequency you're on is what you're bumping up against. It's what you're attracting. It's what is coming into your life. It's what you're talking about. It's what you're feeling about. It's what you're focused on. And at any given moment, you can decide to be at a different frequency, but you have to change the emotional state. Going back to the subconscious, your emotions live in your body and your subconscious. It's what you're emanating. It's not necessarily what you're talking about, which is why most people didn't love The Secret, because they thought all they had to do was make a vision board. And a vision board is like a treadmill that you just bought, but you don't use it. You think, oh, but I bought it. Shouldn't I be losing weight because I bought it? It's over there. Like if you don't use it to activate your frequency or change your frequency, then it doesn't have any effect on you. I mean, maybe a little. I definitely have put stuff on a vision board, not paid attention to it, but lived in a high frequency and manifested that stuff. But and also I think, going back to the therapist example, I've had a show now. My show will be 10 years. I will be a podcaster as of this September, 10 years. So, and every time I get people together in a live audience, raise your hand if you've seen me grow. Raise your hand if you've seen me grow this last year. So I'm not telling people to do things I'm not doing or not experiencing. So I think I've earned the trust of that this works because I keep doing it and because I keep manifesting things, and they hear all sides of those struggles. So, that's about all I can say for how I teach it differently potentially, but I'm not probably the best because I don't really listen to everybody else's show. I just know people say that I make it make sense, or I convert them from thinking it's just spiritual woo-woo crap into science, because it is quantum physics.
And that's how you teach it differently. You were very, very clear in putting strong analogies together to make the average person understand. And that's how you teach it differently. And I'm impressed. So, but can you share how someone can create a roadmap to their emotional healing? Like what would be their initial steps?
Well, so I end up creating a course, and that course is the baseline for all of my other courses. It's called the Roadmap to Emotional Healing. And
I read that.
so somebody can buy the course and do it on their own. You don't need me to do it with you. However, the mapping process has been developed since that course more deeply and more efficiently, because I just keep discovering more like ways to make it better, to get streamline it, to make it like really understandable and easy. And I'm actually kind of back to the personal trainer side of me, where I'm actually holding the space for making people stretch, because I'm sure, Jason, whether you've been a trainer or had a trainer, the concept of having a trainer, like you could do the same exercise program on your own, but when someone's standing over you, watching everything you do, and you will absolutely work harder every time,
Yeah.
even if they're not a trainer, even if
That's
they're
why
just
you're
someone.
paying them.
It's exactly because you're paying them to stretch you and to push you beyond that which you'll do by yourself. So part of what I've now sort of morphed back into is a personal trainer of rewiring your core wound patterns, because it's hard stuff that you're not necessarily going to do on your own. It's stuff that's going to go, oh, that's uncomfortable. Right. Well, that's the point. So we're rewiring the brain. It isn't going to be comfortable because we're going outside of your comfort zone to make new neuroplasticity and new circuitry. So new patterns in the brain. So, yeah. So if someone wants, so just let's talk about the concept, because obviously everyone's going to buy the course. The concept, and I have an episode, actually, episode 337 on spirit, purpose, and energy talks about the roadmap to emotional healing. So there's probably a little bit more context in that, but just think about what makes you different. And that, again, go back to the core wound piece. The roadmap is what gets developed based on your core wound map, based on what you need, who you are, how you interpret information, how you see the world. If you're more right brain or left brain, like all of those factors come into choosing what your roadmap is, which is going to be different than mine. And then at what point on your map do you do, like, there's some exercises that I have everybody go through generally to kind of get information and data. But then past that, what you do, what happens next for you is based on your map, is based on you. It's based on your patterns. It's based on your wounds. It's based on, what you do. So, for anyone that has been struggling with not knowing what to do next, I had a woman listen to the show a couple times and she reached out and she said, oh, I spent $200,000 on Joe Dispenza and I still don't know why I have the same patterns. I still don't know why I do the patterns that I'm in. I said, oh, that would never happen with me. That's exactly what you're going to walk away with. You may not be completely healed, but you will know exactly why you do everything and why you respond the way you do, because that's, to me, again, the foundation. It's become the baseline for all the work that I do.
Goodness gracious. I know that, there are some connections between core wounds and manifestation. Can you share, if there's any, but can you share?
Oh, there's a lot.
Yeah. Could you share what connections there are between core wounds and manifestation? And also, JJ, how can this enhance someone's ability to actually achieve their goals?
I'm just going to pull out some client stuff. So, because I'll have the core wound exercise right in front of me, so I can just rattle off some, or maybe I'll even give you a live example. I won't mention any names.
Cool.
But so let me just read some of the core wounds. These are the top sort of regular words. You could use different words, but I think I really like trying to fit them into these words. So neglected, abandoned, rejected, smothered, shamed, made to feel guilty, excluded, ostracized, used, dominated, ignored, suppressed, disapproved of, controlled, devalued, found defective, depleted, deprived, and separate. Wow. So if someone, I have an ex-client, or she goes in and out, who has a business, and she's an amazing healer, and she knows she's an amazing healer, but she has an abandonment wound, and she's also extremely right-brained. But over the years, like, she's manifested getting clients when she's around people because she has a great energy and she attracts people when she's with them. But in order to take her business to the next level, there's a need to shift. There's a need to change. And so that abandonment wound comes in when, whatever your wounds are, what I have people do is look at how you're doing it to yourself. And what was happening is that she was abandoning herself in this gift because the lack of self-love, even though she's a healer, she's an amazing healer, and on one level she loves herself, but the way she acts in the world and shows up in the world shows you that her priority is going to her regular job where she gets a regular income, but that the work that she does, while she enjoys doing it and she wants to do it more, she abandons herself by not taking a risk, by not doing it more, by not learning something new in order to help more people and get herself out into the world. And that's a combination of self-esteem as well as, as abandonment issues. So when it comes to manifestation, if you have a core wound of being devalued, yet you are constantly devaluing yourself, how do you think when something shows up in your life, you're going to be able to hold on to it? People win the lottery and lose it. Now, that's not everybody, but the majority of people who win the lottery lose it within the first 3 years and go into more debt than they had in the first place. Why? It's because they didn't train themselves on how to receive more. Part of law of attraction isn't just feeling positive feelings. It's that when something comes to you, that you receive it, or when you have a thought or an intuition or an idea, that you follow it. But you have to have the trust, you have to have the confidence, you have to have the belief in yourself to follow it or to receive what is coming to you. Too many people want something different than they have, but they're not working on themselves. They just keep and say, "Oh, I want more money. I want a new, different relationship," but they have not yet learned how to have a better relationship with themselves. So that is where core wounds go back to how you treat yourself. Because again, like I said, these are programs that you got installed before you were 7, and you've been living them your entire life, probably with not even knowing it. And now if someone says, you do the exercise and you get to the place where you're like, oh my gosh, my core wound is devalued. How do I devalue myself? Oh, when someone compliments me, I say no, they're wrong. Or when someone wants to give me something, I don't take it, I don't receive it. So the universe is going to stop giving you stuff if you don't receive it. So we have to elevate, we have to heal those things, so that way we value ourselves more. So that way when we want something more than we already have, we know how to let it in. We know how to be with that. It's going to be uncomfortable, I promise. But when you understand that growth piece, that slightly uncomfortable piece, if you will, gets you to the next level. And now you can enjoy the thing that you want, but you have to be different, because we manifest where we are, not what we want. So if you're going to keep getting where you are, you have to change where you are. So if you want to get better manifestation, you want to get more stuff, you got to work on yourself.
Yeah, I just get the feeling that linking core wounds to manifestation adds a deep psychological layer to just how we attract and how we achieve our desires. And that's just outstanding information, because it could really help the people that are here listening right now. It helps you guys to approach, the way that you want to grow yourself and reach the goals that you hire JJ for, or anyone who's out there working as a practitioner to help you reach any part of what you want in your life. But in your experience, JJ, how do core wounds influence your business success?
Oh, well, I have. So let me go back to manifestation practices. Part of what made me good at this, like really good at this, was the
Yeah.
contrast. So the contrast in my last relationship caused me to learn how to focus regardless of the circumstance. Most of us
Mm.
don't know how to actually use law of attraction. We think it's based on circumstance. As long as what is around me looks good or feels good, I can be happy. And if it's not, I have to change that so I can be happy. But it's the other way around. You have to start with being in alignment before things outside of you will change. So we always want to blame, our spouse or our kids or our parents. And we look for their behavior to be an indicator. It's like, with people with the scale, they get on the scale to see if they're going to be happy today or not. Oh, am I going to like myself? Am I going to beat myself up today? It's so ridiculous. And that's me talking as a personal trainer, because that keeps you in this loop. So when we're looking at, and for me, it was wanting something so badly, believing I could have it, not seeing evidence of it, but living in a frequency where I already had it. It's not easy to do, but it's actually what law of attraction is. It's how do I feel and be and see what I want, even though in front of me, I see no evidence of it. Because a thought is first a thought before it's a thing. A thing is a thought first. It has to be an energetic expression first, this frequency, before it can become physical manifestation. And one of my favorite quotes of law of attraction is this. I have a lot, but here's the first one. That's like, so if you're a law of attraction person, write this down or repeat it to yourself after I say it. I'm going to say it twice because it's so powerful. I hope it'll change your life. Ready? The
Right.
only reason that you want what you want is you think you'll feel better when you have it. I'm going to say it one more time. The only reason you want what you want is because you think you'll feel better when you have it. Now, that doesn't mean don't want what you want. It means that you can feel the feeling now without the thing. And in fact, in law of attraction, you have to feel the feeling first to get the thing. But once you get to the feeling, which is what you really want, you don't even need the thing. So we have to learn. That's a skill set people don't know how to do. It's hard, but I chose this path on my soul level to learn this, like to become really good at this, to understand that I create my own happiness. Nobody else does. And if I'm reacting to something, it's something inside of me. Doesn't mean I don't have to put up with or like be disrespected or anything like that. But it's noticing that, again, taking responsibility. If I'm in a situation where I'm upset, there's a trigger in me. That's no one else's fault. That's a mirror for me. But I also, you have to learn how to feel the feelings. That's what the secret. They had them like driving, like, yo, go test drive the car or go walk in the house. Like, get into the frequency of the feeling of the thing that you want. And again, that's really what you want. And then if you do that enough, you'll probably get the thing, or you won't want the thing because you don't need it anymore.
It's sort of like this rehearsal and visualization, and this consistent visualizing exactly what you want, not just saying I want that new car. No, but how does it drive? What color is it? What color is the leather? Did you sit in it? Visualize you turning the key. Visualize you walking outside and looking at the rims and making sure it's the right the hue of paint that you want. So it sounds close to that. But JJ, you have a lot of years of experience doing the podcast. You're coming up on your 10th year. I think you said September, this September. My question to you is, what are some of the most common mistakes that podcasters can make with monetization? And how can you help us out here avoid those mistakes?
Well, I know you're on my website, so sign up for the webinar and watch the class. It's a 90-minute class. We'll tell you, go very deep into that subject. But I think that the biggest mistakes people make with monetization on their podcast goes back to my empowerment strategist. It goes back to that. How do you want to feel? What do you want to create? What's your goal? And then what's your plan to get there? Too many people sort of do it and just expect things to fall in line, or they have expectations that are unrealistic. Like, most people think they're going to make money from sponsorships. You might make money from sponsorships, but you think you're going to make money from advertisers. Yeah, no, not unless you're Joe Rogan. Sorry. Unless you come to the to the podcast with a big audience, the likelihood of you getting, if you go by traditional models in this industry of getting sponsors and advertisers, you're not going to make any money. So you have to have, millions of downloads to make any significant amount of money with advertisers. But that's for some reason what people think. And there's so many podcasts every day that are getting launched, right? So it's been flooded. So why your show? What is it that you're doing? And from what I teach is exactly kind of what I'm doing right now. And I know what you do well is share who you are. This is a relationship. People are listening. You did a great job with this video and the intro to your video, very highly professional, which sets a tone for what to expect. And if they're listening to in the podcast without the video, then it's about their relationship, because we're in their ears. Like, we're literally in their ears. I could whisper and I'm having a deep and intimate conversation with you, the listener, right now, because I'm in your ears. And that resonating part of that is people, depending on what they're looking for and what you're offering, they want to resonate with who they're listening to. And they also want to trust that you can help them. And they also want to know that you're human, and they want to see your humanity, and they want to see you struggle. And they want to hear, not because they want to see you struggle, because they want to see you overcome it. They want to know your heart. This is the most intimate medium for any, as far as I'm concerned, because videos, when they go on YouTube, I get the most amount of negative comments on YouTube. And maybe a couple of years ago, I started saying, like, I had a new spiel, because I really only do YouTube for now, like, guests that have like really high profile guests. And so I always put their name. It's like, because it's a search engine, and I understand they're searching for my guests. They're not searching for me. They don't know me. Now, people on my podcast would prefer me just to have solo shows most of the time. They don't care that I have guests or not. At least the people that have been with me for 6, 7, 8, 9 years. People on YouTube don't know me. They have no relationship with me. They're looking for whoever I'm interviewing. So I'll get comments. I'll get the meanest, nastiest comments on YouTube, which I end up deleting. But what I say now, and I have for a couple of years, I say, hi, welcome to the show. I'm JJ Flizanes. And just hey, I'm JJ. And if you're new to me, this is my show. And I'm going to talk. And if you don't like me, I'm totally cool with that. Guest, where can they find more about you? Let's just send them right to you if they don't like me. You don't got to sit and listen to me if you don't like me. Go find your guest. I'm sure they have a ton of information in other places. So I did that, and half my audience was like, I don't like that you say that. Who cares what they think? But the other half is like, the more I hear you say that, the more I realize, yeah, I'm going to say that to people in my life. Like, if you don't like me, then that's fine. Like, I go away. I pay for the show and I put it out and I give you free content. You're going to complain? I don't care. So when it comes to the podcasting space, I teach people to follow your zone of genius, to be in your zone of genius, to monetize your zone of genius, and to not chase money. Don't do the latest, greatest fad. Be true to who you are, whatever that means. Figure out what that means and figure out how you can, because you can always find a way to make money from what you're passionate about. But if you're just doing it for the money, if you're, like a trick kind of person who's one like the next greatest thing, people will see through that and it won't last. And you'll be frustrated. Or, there's the long game versus the short game. I'm in the long game. And I think you're probably in the long game. The long game is build an audience, build a relationship with the audience. As they know, like, and trust you, they will want you to help them. But if you're coming out like selling everything right off the bat, or front loading your show with too many advertisers and sponsorships, and people don't want that, they'll leave. And then so will your numbers. So I just think there's lots of opportunity that people don't realize because they're not focused in the right place.
Yeah, and I can honestly say I've never, and I'm not boasting because eventually I will, but I hadn't sought out any type of advertising for expansion of consciousness. There's information that I wanted to get out there. I went and personally studied a number of different modalities and wrote about them in my book, Empowered by Consciousness. And my podcast was a conduit for me to get this information out and to share all the wonders, all the beautiful things that Source has equipped us with. And not to say that I won't go out there, but sponsor people. Not your idea, but people first. And from that, how can your whatever it is you've branded yourself around, how does that help them connect with the people who are following you? So I know that you have an outstanding course for this, and you may see me in it just to get some more tips on how to make sure that I continue to keep this show aligned with future success. So, but I like that, and I understand what you're saying. But you emphasize that emotions are the most critical part of healing. Can you explain to us, how does this perspective change the way one approaches their health and disease?
So, like I said earlier, thoughts become things.
Yes.
And let me give you this very simple analogy. Let me ask you a question. Although, I have never asked a man like you this question. This is going to be very interesting. So when you get embarrassed, what happens to you?
Prior to walking this spiritual journey, what would happen to me is
physically.
I think that maybe you start to tremble on the inside.
Okay.
Maybe I would just tremble, and maybe I would sweat.
Okay. How about when you're nervous or afraid?
I maybe feel a queasiness in my stomach.
Yeah. Some people often say like butterflies, or some people have like neck pain or digestive issues, right? These are physical manifestations of an emotion. So you feel nervous, you feel the reason embarrassed, and you sweat, or you get your stomach kind of turns in knots. Physical manifestations of an emotion. What happens when we hold toxic anger and shame inside of our bodies for a long period?
It manifests as disease.
Right. So I've worked with enough cancer patients now, and had some very positive data on one side. And it's not for everybody, because the majority of cancer patients want to just do chemo and radiation and be done with it, and not necessarily look under the hood and do not believe in mind-body connection. But for the ones that have been cancering several times, or they've tried and it didn't work, or it didn't last, or they're on their third time, you start to ask different questions. And so to me, the emotions are the most important piece, because they create the environment and the container from which you're healing in. So regardless of, and there are a lot of great programs out there, a lot of great alternative healing modalities and books and experts in all kinds of ways that I respect tremendously. And if you're doing that work in a container full of anger, full of shame, full of hatred, full of self-loathing, you're out of alignment and the body will not heal itself. That is not parasympathetic. You have to be in a parasympathetic state for your body to heal itself. So it's like taking a boulder up a hill. You may make some changes, but it is not going to be in conjunction with your body's ability to heal itself. So there's a book called Radical Remission by Dr. Kelly Turner, and she studied 1,500 cancer patients who had radical remissions, as doctors would put it. And out of all the things that they did, she found 10 common things. And out of the 10 common things, 7 of them are mental, emotional, and spiritual, that they all did to radically heal their cancers in the face of a terminal diagnosis and their doctors throwing their hands up and saying, I give up, there's nothing else we can do. And then all of a sudden, boom, they have remission, and they're now cancer free, and they've outlived their diagnosis and probably still living. So when you look at that, what's the, they did all the medical things, they did all the diet things, they did all the, so what's the difference? The mental, emotional, and spiritual, they stopped trying. They let the gas off the brake. They had an experience which expanded their brain and their consciousness beyond something that they never knew before. And they had a different relationship with death or with life or with their disease. So to me, yes, emotions are the most important thing, because it's the most overlooked, underlooked, understudied application of energy work, period. And everyone that's out there, I have a whole book. It's called Messages from the Body. It's huge.
Yes.
And it's like 700 pages. And the minute anyone has anything, and me too, I'm looking up like, okay, what's the emotional root of this? And and we use that as information, because even if you still fix the outside, the physical body, if you don't heal, change, shift, release, allow the energy that's living in your body as emotion, it may come back or create something else. So to me, it doesn't mean you never feel anger, you never feel shame, you never feel sadness. No, of course not. That's natural. Our body is set up in Chinese medicine. Each organ represents an energy center of emotion. Your lungs are where you hold grief. Your liver is where you hold anger. Your gallbladder is where you hold fear. Kidneys are fear. Gallbladder is like worry. Anyway, and so when you look at these energetic systems from over 2,000 years ago in the Chinese medical system, well, yeah, we're blocked. We got blocked chi, we got blocked energy in these different places. That's why people get bronchitis after someone dies. If they don't allow that grief out, or long periods of Christopher Reeve's wife died of lung cancer. She didn't smoke. What did she had? She had grief, huge grief about her taking care of him when he had his accident. And then of course, when he died. How did she get lung cancer and never touched a cigarette? Because she had grief. So to me, yeah, it's exciting. It doesn't mean I don't, of course, respect the physical body. I do. And it is important to focus on it, but it's important to be clear that your physical body is pretty miraculous and will heal itself in the right condition. So if I had to weigh which is more important, the physical stuff or the emotional stuff, I'm going to say the emotional stuff, because you could take somebody with a really bad diet, really bad, all the things, who's happy, joy-filled, feels free, feels amazing. And that person's going to outlive the person who's super controlled about everything they eat and everything they do and everything who's inside has anger and frustration and lives in that frequency all the time.
And what a beautiful, I'm glad we sort of wrapping it up with this conversation. What a beautiful response, JJ. And I want to go back a little bit when you were asking me those questions. And that's how I was until I started to understand consciousness. And you said it a minute ago, that you start to expand your conscious. When I started to expand my conscious, when I started to set my intentions, when I started to expand my awareness, when I started to transcendental meditate, I started to look at emotions like, oh, here's an emotion coming. Let's observe it. Oh, wow. Okay. That's what it is. Interesting. Emotions I started to observe them instead of experiencing them. And it was so unique. I did the emotional intelligence course. And when I would feel the emotion coming, I would listen to the furthest thing away from me for about 2 to 3 seconds. Then I would listen to the closest thing to me for about 2 to 3 seconds. And then that emotion was gone. But one of the things that just came clearly into my mind when you were speaking about this just a minute ago was some of the same things with the book you wrote about the messages from the body. Some of the same things that's written in the book Soul Speaks by Julia Cannon, Dolores Cannon's daughter. And I come from the quantum healing hypnosis tree. And we know that cancer is related to hate of something, hate of someone. We know that if the ankles and knees have pain, it means that you're moving in the wrong direction. And they've categorized all of these emotions or disease doing the quantum healing hypnosis session. And we get this information directly from the client who's in the somnambulistic state. this deep state of relaxation, and they're answering these questions, and they've cataloged them all. So everything you're saying is spot on, because those same principles we use in the quantum sessions, and we ask, why is Mary suffering from thyroid issues? Because she believes that when she's speaking, she's not being heard. And you get this from 1,500 clients and that are not related to each other, and they all have the same response when they're in this somnambulistic state. And we're like, so thyroid means that I'm not being heard every time I speak. So it's interesting you say that, but I want to spend the rest of our time with you talking about all the wonderful things that you're doing, the courses that you have, what's going on the website, what's new coming out, what books are out there. Let the audience know about you, JJ.
Well, thanks, Jason. Well, just announced today. It is May 1st, so I don't know when this is going to air, but I have opened up tickets for my next live event in person in Redondo Beach, California in October. And it's currently early bird pricing for tickets, which I always do. And I had one person today say, I can't wait for this. Someone who signed up for an event a long time ago, didn't end up, he couldn't come. We did a session and then he's been following me ever since, but I didn't know he had any intention of coming. So I'm like, well, that's exciting. I expect it to be a really bigger crowd than the last couple of them for whatever reason, maybe just because I've been doing this longer and enough people have come to events. And again, I can't handle too many more than what I already have anyway, because it's deep work. So it's called the Embodiment Healing Intensive, or the Embodied Healing Intensive, because even though I'm speaking from this like idea of analysis and uncovering, and it's all very like in your head, I'm not the things I tell my clients to do are not necessarily to think differently. It's to do things or to feel things. It's to activate the body. It's to get into the body. It's to listen to the body. It's to honor the body. And so too many people are disconnected. They're in their hand. They're very, very smart, but they're not listening to their body, and their body is trying to tell them things and they're just not listening, and they're not activating their intuition. They're not. So this live event is going to be designed around from every chakra energy system to every muscle and way we can pull things in the subconscious. We're just going to be activating the subconscious body in order to, and also see where the blocks are in people, because too many people are disconnected and their emotions live in this body that they can't access because they don't know how to. So we're going to be doing that at the Embodied Healing Intensive in October. That's what's new, just announced today. And then the podcast is ongoing. Although I come in and out of, like, I've slowed down, and then I sort of, if I have an event, I'll put some more shows out. Otherwise, it's sort of like twice a month now. Cause literally if you are enjoying this conversation, you resonate with me, you can't catch up. I have so much content. You have to make it a full-time job to catch up. So just see what resonates with you. We talked about the different, on my website, jjflizanes.com. Everything is there, but on the homepage, you have access to the 3 reasons why talk therapy is ineffective. It's a class. It's a 90-minute class. You also have access to how emotions affect healing and disease, which is another 90-minute class that you can take. And again, that's also free. In terms of other stuff, I mean, I got a ton of courses, the roadmap to emotional healing, and I don't really work with people one-on-one. There is a sort of a new thing that I'm doing. It's the roadmap course plus a session, but you still have to apply for that. So that would be jjflizanes.com/apply, because I don't sell anybody anything that isn't right for them. And I have so much to offer in so many different levels of financial things that I can direct you to whatever works for you. But again, I have so much free stuff. I would say, please just go dive into the free stuff, even when I have like a big event. So my main like change your brain course is called Rewiring Your Core Wound Patterns. And it's a 3-month course, but there's a 6-month option. And the second part's called, what's it called? Rewiring Your Core Wound Patterns. Oh, Evolving Beyond Your Story. The second 3 months is called Evolving Beyond Your Story. And I'm in one right now, but the next one won't happen until January. So even if someone signs up and says, oh, I heard one episode on this person's show, I want to do that thing, I say, not yet. You have to listen to 10 more episodes. And then if you still like me, we're still in alignment, then I'll take your money. But otherwise, because I'm very careful. The work I do is very in your face. I'm really going to push you beyond what you're comfortable with, but I'm also going to help you in ways that you're not going to get yourself. So I got to make sure you understand and feel me and trust me and know that it's not about me. It's not about me being right. It's not about me being effective. It's about me pushing you in the ways that I intuitively feel are best because it's what you want. Because I don't want anybody blaming me saying you're pushing me too hard. So that's happening in January. But otherwise, I'd say, again, there's so much. If you just go looking around, there's a YouTube channel for exercise and cooking things. But based on this conversation, I would say go do the 3 reasons why talk therapy is ineffective, listen to some podcasts, and consider coming live to the Embodied Healing Intensive in October.
In the books.
Yeah. So I have 3 books. I am working on a 4th, but I paused it because I was going down a path that I'm not ready yet. My books have been very like how to, like I have Fit to Love, how to get physically, emotionally, and spiritually fit to attract love of your life. It's a how-to book, but it's very all about manifesting and using your self-care to attract new things in your life, especially love, but it's really about your love for you. Then the Invisible Fitness Formula, 5 Secrets to Release Weight and End Body Shame. I just did a revision of that and produced that this year, earlier this year with an audiobook finally. I've had books for years and I've never made an audiobook. I was like, I have a podcast. I should have an audiobook. So I finally recorded the audiobook for that. And that is an ode to my work as a personal trainer, but it's definitely effective for physical things. It still talks about emotional things, but this next book is going to be a life changer. It's going to be a life changer to write it, and it's going to be a life changer to put it out into the world. So I'm not quite ready yet, but it's absolutely going to be about core wounds and manifestation and intuition, 100%. But I want to make sure that it connects with people deeply, that it's about my story, and my story is continuing. So I'm not ready yet.
So JJ, give your website one more time to the audience.
So it's my name. It's JJ Flizanes, FLIZANES.com. JJFlizanes.com is the website.
Awesome. JJ, thank you for being a guest of the Expansion of Consciousness. I'm smiling. I've been smiling the whole episode because you're so infectious. And once I started to read more and more, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad I have her on this show. Just beautiful the way that you have explained the law of attraction and consciousness and how you approach healing. Just awesome. And I am so privileged that you took the time out. Someone who's as accomplished, but still has the softness and the love within your heart. That's what resonates with me the most. So thank you. Thank you,
Jason. It was a great conversation. I appreciate the work you're doing in the world. We need more of you too, out there doing that, especially, I can't tell you, the men. Yeah, I'd love to have you come on my show because you represent a demographic I don't have a lot of. There are men talking about science and things like that, and I've had someone talk about quantum stuff, but you again sort of represent a market that needs more attention. Men need to be represented. They don't necessarily want to listen to a woman. They want to listen to a man. And I don't take that personal. I get it. But it doesn't matter who's saying it. It's the fact that it needs to be said, and there need to be different voices that resonate with different people so that people can get the healing that they need. So I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah. Hard for me to find them too. 90% of the people on my show are women. So it's really hard to find us, but yeah, spirituality and that whole thing, it's hard to find us, but I agree. So you hold on one second. I'm going to wrap it up. I have some more nice things to say about you. But give me a second. I'll be right there. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Oops, I messed that one up. Okay, there we go. Okay. Wow. As we conclude, she's awesome. She's a very, very lovely spirit, and she's shining, guys, shining bright as we can even see. But as we conclude today's profound discussion with JJ, she reminded us of the power of emotional intelligence and strategic empowerment in creating a life of fulfillment and success. And for those who are inspired by today's episode and eager to dive deeper in the emotional healing and strategic life mapping, consider JJ exploring her courses, exploring her books. JJ has shown us today, guys, that understanding our deepest emotional patterns can unlock doors to new opportunities and new ways to transform yourselves. And I want you to join us the next time on the expansion of consciousness as we explore new personal growth and empowerment dimensions. Until then, stay empowered and remember that your emotional health is the key to your overall success. I'm going to leave you with these 3 words: trust, relax, and discover. Thank you and good night.